A fitness instructor unknowingly records a military convoy rolling towards Myanmar's parliament to overthrow it. Filmed in early 2021, it's the only known footage of the coup and the start of a devastating war. 4 years on, the violence remains relentless. Some 82,000 lives have been lost and another 3.2 million displaced, while the central government controls just a fifth of the country. Nearly all major ethnic groups are fighting one another, and in some areas, the breakdown is so complete that people don't even use the national currency. The resulting power vacuum has turned Myanmar into a hub for narcotics production, human trafficking, and weapons smuggling. It has also quietly become a regional proxy war, drawing in China, India, Russia, and the United States. These competing powers now shape what has become a widely recognized failed state, and they may ultimately determine how long the conflict lasts. That's how it works in geopolitics. What isn't stopped is studied and tweaked for the next war. Today's sponsor is Odoo, the ultimate all-in-one management software. It handles everything from invoicing and accounting to project management, website creation, and more. Normally, you would need multiple separate apps to do what Odoo does on its own. But the best part? The first app is free for life, including unlimited hosting and support. So, let's say you want to launch an e-commerce store. Odoo makes it incredibly easy. Just pick the e-commerce app, walk through the configurations with a few simple steps, and you're up and running. The AI builds the structure of your site, and from there, you can drag and drop content, customize layouts, and add your products. You can upload images, set prices, adjust descriptions. Everything is intuitive and flexible. Essentially, Odoo takes care of the heavy lifting so you can focus on what matters: selling. Check out Odoo today by hitting the link in the description and supporting me by supporting them. Thanks, Odoo. Myanmar is collapsing in real time. The closest thing to a central government is the State Security and Peace Commission led by General Min Aung Hlaing. Much of the country, however, has fallen outside the government's control. Patchworks of separatist strongholds now dominate vast areas, each pursuing its own political goals. In the north, the Kachin Independence Army seeks full autonomy for Kachin State, if not outright independence. In the west, the Arakan Army is pushing for a self-governed Rakhine nation with ambitions of breaking away entirely. In Chin State, various militias have turned against both the central government and one another, with each vying to represent a future independent Chin land. In the east, Karen and Karenni armed groups continued their long-standing fight for ethnic homelands, while Shan State remains splintered between rival factions, some of which favor federal autonomy, others complete secession. Beyond these ethnic groups, the People's Defense Force, which was formed by the exiled civilian government, now operates across central and southern Myanmar. It is fighting to overthrow the military government and, supposedly, replace it with a federal democracy. Though not rooted in any single ethnicity, its growing presence has strained relations with ethnic militias, many of whom reject the idea of any future union altogether. Meanwhile, foreign powers have steadily taken sides behind the scenes. They're arming proxies, funding factions, and shaping outcomes from the shadows. China, with its deep investments and strategic stakes, has the most to gain or lose, but Beijing can't fully back one side without risking blowback elsewhere. Instead, it has opted to play all sides on the ground, hedging its bets, if you will. It supplies military hardware to the central government while turning a blind eye to Chinese-made weapons flowing to rebel factions. This balancing act has led to an unspoken rule in Myanmar. Despite ongoing hostilities, most armed groups avoid targeting Chinese assets such as pipelines, energy terminals, ports, and economic zones. India has tried to copy China's balancing strategy but has stumbled in the process. Its main focus has been securing the northeastern frontier, where separatist, nationalist, insurgent groups operate from inside Myanmar. These rebel groups oppose the Indian government and use Myanmar as a safe haven to launch attacks. To counter this, India has quietly cooperated with Myanmar's military leadership, sharing intelligence and carrying out cross-border operations. For instance, in May 2025, Indian forces engaged a group of insurgents in Manipur near the Myanmar border. Later, in July, an Indian drone strike eliminated several separatist commanders inside Myanmar. These incidents underscore India's anxiety over regional spillover. However, unlike China, India lacks strong ties with Myanmar's ethnic militias and has little economic leverage. America has taken a different approach. Rather than engaging directly, it has avoided arming the groups fighting the central government. Its support has been limited to non-lethal aid for the exiled civilian government, under which the People's Defense Force operates. Most likely though, Washington is providing more covert assistance than it publicly admits. At the same time, the United States has been urging Thailand to play a more active role in Myanmar, mindful that some within the Thai military sympathize with certain ethnic groups. Thailand, however, remains cautious. It has little interest in fueling instability in Myanmar, knowing it could easily spill across its borders. Thus, for now, the most Thailand is willing to do is ignore the activities of the exiled People's Defense Force, many of whom operate from Thai soil, particularly around the border town of Mae Sot. Thai lawmakers are also cautious about challenging China, given its grand strategic interests in the country. You see, Myanmar is China's only immediate neighbor that offers direct overland access to the Indian Ocean. This route bypasses the South China Sea and the congested Strait of Malacca, where the US Navy could potentially disrupt shipping during a major conflict. This 1,700-kilometer corridor is vital, not just for exporting Chinese goods, but also for importing fossil fuels from the Middle East and minerals from Africa. That's why China has built oil and gas pipelines from the shores of the Bay of Bengal to its southern province of Yunnan, with plans to add highways and high-speed rail along the same route. As part of the plan, Chinese state-owned companies are working on two major projects in Rakhine State, a $7.3 billion deep-water port at Kiok Phu and a $1.3 billion special economic zone that includes an oil and gas terminal. Both projects sit at the southern end of the corridor, and so for Beijing, there can be no half measures in Myanmar. By any measure, 1988 marked a turning point for Myanmar. A pro-democracy movement took to the streets of the capital, but was then swiftly and brutally crushed by the military. While the West imposed sanctions, China reached out, boosting cross-border trade and selling over $1 billion worth of tanks, artillery, armored vehicles, anti-aircraft systems, and naval vessels. By doing so, China became Myanmar's key foreign partner. Yet, despite growing ties, the relationship was never built on trust. The fiercely nationalistic Myanmar military remained uneasy about its heavy dependence on China for arms and supplies. Many officers resented how Beijing treated the country as a client state. So, to reduce its reliance on China, Myanmar began building defense ties with Russia. It bought MiG-29 fighter jets and Mi-35 helicopter gunships, both of which are still used to this day. This Russian-supplied air power has become increasingly crucial in recent years as government forces have struggled on the ground. Helicopter gunships now frequently attack rebel-controlled towns and villages across the country. Right or wrong, Russia has been instrumental to the central government in Myanmar. But with its attention and resources consumed by the war in Ukraine, it's unclear how much of that support still continues today. What we do know is this. While China and Russia cooperate closely in the Ukrainian battle space, they appear to be pursuing separate agendas in Myanmar. America, for its part, has responded by imposing sanctions on Myanmar's military government, targeting officials and their business interests. At the same time, a massive new US consulate complex, budgeted at roughly $248 million, is being built to replace and expand the existing facility in the northern Thai city of Chiang Mai. The consulate is widely believed to be part of a broader effort to expand American intelligence capabilities in the region. Once operational, Washington could use the new facility to supply intelligence to rebel factions and influence the course of the conflict. Elsewhere, there are indications the US may be deepening its involvement. Local sources claim the US is contemplating plans to establish a large supply base in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh to support insurgent groups like the Arakan Army and the Chin National Front. They also suggest the US could impose a no-fly zone over Rakhine State to neutralize the Myanmar Air Force from supporting its troops on the ground. Although these claims remain unproven, the focus on Myanmar's western coast makes strategic sense. Establishing friendly or autonomous territories near the Indian and Bangladeshi borders would put pressure on China's overland corridor from Yunnan and threaten its access to the deep-water port at Kyaukpyu. However, while Washington works to undermine China's corridor, Beijing is working just as hard to entrench it. Since the coup, China has sold over $260 million worth of weapons to the central government, while also quietly arming rebel groups, especially in the north. The bulk of these weapons has gone to the United Wa State Army, which in turn has supplied other rebel groups, including the Arakan Army. By playing both sides, China has now become the sole external power able to broker peace. It recently helped negotiate a truce between some rebel groups in northern Shan State and the central government. And with the Arakan Army gaining ground in Rakhine State, thanks in part to United Wa State Army supplied weapons, it's just a matter of time before China intervenes there too. If this plays out, Chinese interests will inevitably clash with American designs, and the ground between may well taste the whip twice. I've been your host Shirvan from Caspian Report. If you approve of what we do, please leave a comment, hit the like button, and mayhaps share the video. In any case, thank you for your time, and Sawal.